school has changed a lot. There are less arguments being brought into the classroom, so our teacher doesn't have to get called out. So we've still got all our learning time.
When restorative practice came in, I had a voice and I could say how I feel. It changed my life, basically.
But it's taken me from like a horrible person to the way I am now. It gives me a chance to be the person I really want to be. It changes you, it really does.
Thank you very much for coming along this afternoon. My name's David Williams, and I'm going to hold a very quick restorative practice circle.
Swansea Council has become the first UK authority to adopt the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. In doing so, Swansea has set restorative practice, or RP, at the centre of its approach to improving the welfare of children and young people across the city. RP follows a continuum of need from informal to formal practices. There are informal approaches that help people to communicate their feelings, and more formal approaches that allow individuals to sit in circles and to speak and listen to one another in a safe and fair environment.
Good morning all. Welcome to our check-in this morning, a morning meeting.
Since 2010, Swansea schools have been receiving training in restorative approaches. Initially it was used to help with problem behaviour, but quickly became the key tool in developing relationships between pupils, teachers, families and the wider community. Trafod School has been using restorative approaches since January 2012. Every member of staff has been trained, and RP is now being used across every aspect of school life. Beth Thomas is the restorative practice coordinator at Trafod and works within the school's pupil attendance and wellbeing team.
We committed to restorative practice in January 2012. We had a whole school one-day introduction training where every member of staff in school at the time was trained. At the end of that day came up with a sort of implementation on how we were going to put the RP into practice. It's in our ethos. It's one of the principles that every member of staff signs up to, that we will embed RP.
Beth feels that restorative practice has made a big difference to school life, especially when she remembers how challenging behaviour used to be dealt with at Trafod.
It was punitive. If so you'd done something wrong, you were punished, you were dealt with punitively. Detention would consist of rows of children sitting in lines at desks, writing lines, I will achieve at Trafod. Since we've introduced RP, the whole thing has turned on its head, really. We're working supportively, we're working restoratively.
Fab, thanks. That's what I wanted to see, just to make sure you're OK. All right, lovely. See you later. Thank you.
We do deal with incidences, we're working with human beings, they happen, but when incidences do occur, we're working now in a much more restorative way, so we're working to repair the harm and to move on rather than punish that individual for whatever mistake they may have made.
When an incident occurred between two pupils recently, Beth organised a restorative conference, bringing together those who've caused harm through their wrongdoing and those who've been directly or indirectly harmed to talk about the incident.
Harry has always been a little bit alternative in the way that he looks.
Yeah, he was always outgoing and not one to conform necessarily in his ways of looking at things and in his appearance to a certain degree.
When he came up to Trafod, there were initially a few teething problems with some of the young people that were in his class. They would call him girl, they would call him gay. And one particular boy continued a little bit longer than everyone else, and Harry would come home. Pretty upset, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He would start faking illnesses, wouldn't want to go to school, couldn't really pinpoint what it is until one day we confronted him about it and he said that he was just really unhappy.
When it came to me, as I was on the phone to Mr Lewis, she was quite emotional at the time, and I could see that, I could already hear the effect that it had on them as a family. And she came into the school, and when I met her then, got the boys together and I just explained the process, explained what was going to happen, what was expected of everyone who was there, and using our little RP question cards, just went through the process there of using a conference. Everybody was offered the opportunity to say how they felt and what they wanted to happen next.
Beth instigated the meeting, asking how Harry what was happening, how he felt, what was being said, asked him how did he feel about it, and then she went on to Jahan and asked him to explain what he felt was going on. And in Jahan's defence, he really did think he was trying to make friends.
He didn't realise what he was doing. At the time, we realised, when he realised, and he said he actually wanted to be Harry's friend, he was just going a totally wrong way about it.
The conference had a significant effect on Harry and Jahan's relationship.
They told me that, Harry didn't like being called all this. So then I, apologised to him. I said I wouldn't do it again. And now me and Harry are, best friends now.
It helped a lot because now it's me and Jahan are almost best friends now. And it's just made school better. And I'm enjoying it more now.
RP conferences sit at the formal end of the continuum and are a result of a wrongdoing. At the informal end of the continuum, effective statements and effective questions are used to help pupils express how they're feeling and to see how their behaviour might be affecting others. At Trafod, Beth gets her effective statements underway even before school starts.
Morning, Michaela. You okay? You're all right, though, yeah? Yes? Oh, good. There is a smile there, then.
Always smiles in the morning, see? Always smiling.
Very happy. And you're on time, well done.
The meet and greet on the gate is just simply, and it really is simple, I want to sort of emphasise that it really is just us explaining how we feel when the kids come through the door. So it'll be a case of if we see somebody coming through the gate who we haven't seen for a while, we just let them know that we're pleased to see them. Those pupils know then that they are greeted effectively at the gate before they even get to their check-in with their form tutor. And any problems, any issues can be brought up there and then before they've even walked into the school. And I think that's sort of leaving the mind freer for learning, which is the reason why they're here.
The restorative approach to conflict resolution can help schools deal with serious behaviour issues. At Athrawon Primary School, Headmistress Amanda Taylor recalls what school life was like before she introduced RP.
Before we took on restorative practice at school, we used to have a massive problem with behaviour. Restorative practice meant that we had a consistent approach that everybody in the school used and that was open and transparent so the children understood. And the biggest thing from the children's point of view is that they understand that there is a fair system and that they have a voice.
School life has really changed here in Athrawon since the restorative practice cards have come in.
We go around in a circle and we say how we feel and things like that, and I like to know how people feel so we can make them better.
I used to be fighting and be naughty and not listen to the teachers, but then restorative practice came in and it changed my life.
The check-ins held each morning at Athrawon are common across all RP schools in Swansea. They're a way of letting pupils talk about what's going on in their lives in a safe and open forum. They're often light-hearted and fun, but if something is weighing on a child's mind, they know that they can share this with the knowledge that they'll be listened to and offered help.
If you could be an ice cream, what flavour would you be?
Restorative practice is now embedded in Athrawon, and serious behaviour problems are a thing of the past. The legacy, however, is a school full of children who are confident in the way they express themselves and better relationships between teachers and pupils.
We had an increase in the number of concerns that children brought to us, but that meant that we were able to put the actions around that child to support them. That meant that we reached out to the wider parts of the community, so we involved members from health, from the police, from whatever agency that we felt was necessary. So the outreach support built as part of our restorative practice work as well around children and then around the wider families.
Restorative practice in Swansea stretches beyond schools and is used by a number of other organisations. It's been particularly successful with the city's family support team.
We incorporate restorative practice in any work we do really with the families, whether it be in the home or more specifically in the parenting groups that we run. For example, we'll use restorative approach when we're checking in with the parents. So they come into the setting and we have sit in a circle and have a circle time really and check in how the parents are feeling, how they felt the week has been. And often for parents it can be the first time that somebody's actually asked them how they're feeling that week, so it's really important, and this is something that we use on every session. For us, I think, as a team, it's an excellent way of taking that a step further and encouraging the parents to see this tool working and successfully working in school and apply this to their home environment. And we know, obviously, working with children, that consistency is very important. And if children are seeing the same things in school as at home, then they're going to be reassured and feel secure with that.
Seaview Community Primary School was in the first phase of schools in Swansea to begin using restorative practice. Parents of children attending the school have shown a real interest in learning more about RP, and the school recently put on a show to explain it in practice.
We decided we wanted to introduce restorative practice to the parents. So what we were doing in the school, we felt that it was important for the parents to know about. When I talked to some of the children about how we were going to do it, we thought the best way to do it was through an assembly of Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Hello, is anybody home? I'm lost in the woods and I'm very hungry.
Someone's been eating my porridge.
Somebody's been eating my porridge.
Somebody's been eating my porridge and I ate it all.
What happened, Mammy Bear? Well, Goldilocks here walked in our house, ate all our porridge that took me an hour to make. I'm very cross.
For Seaview, building relationships with the parents has been a key benefit of using RP.
Before, you might have to almost do like a walk of shame. The parents felt awful, you felt awful. There was nearly always a confrontation between a parent and a teacher if you had to go and tell them, oh, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but your son has done this today, your daughter has done this today. Those things don't happen now.
Including parents in restorative practice has gone much further, however. Seaview has started hosting RP training events for the parents, organised by Swansea's RP project team.
So it's quite powerful that you as parents and guardians of the children use the same questions for consistency for the youngsters. Because obviously the children are using it in school. You can imagine how powerful it's going to be for you, because Sian's already said that the children are used to using this straight away. So if you adopt the same principles, the same questions, it's going to make your lives a lot easier as well.
Since using restorative practice at home, life's become a lot more easier and calmer.
You'll ask how their day's been, and they're more willing to talk about, if they've had a good day or a bad day, because they're used to talking about their feelings more in school now.
You've had a good day today? Yeah. Good.
PC David Williams is a restorative practice trainer in Swansea. Together with project manager Hilary Davis, they've successfully trained hundreds of people in restorative approaches.
There were a high number of referrals being received by our Child and Family Services, which were mostly low-level problems that were considered could be dealt with as they occurred, preventing escalation to other services. In addition, we needed to improve our attendance and reduce exclusions. As part of our poverty agenda is to ensure that pupils are in school and learning, and we had seen how other authorities had used restorative practice to help achieve this.
Hello, how are you? Nice to see you too, yes.
Nice to see you this morning, all right?
Initially, we have a whole school approach for the core introduction to restorative practice training. We then offer advanced and circle training to a selection of staff who then cascade that amongst others. We have also developed a robust support model which we feel is critical. This includes supporting the schools prior to training to ensure that everybody is aware of what's being introduced. Following the training, we revisited different stages to provide advice and look at how it's being implemented and communicated, and we discuss further training opportunities.
RP sits under Articles 12 and 19 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the right to be heard and the right to be safe. Training pupils in restorative approaches helps them get their views across and teaches them about the best ways to deal with conflict.
Your best friend is not able to come round to play.
So how would that make you feel?
Sad.
Okay.
To me, restorative practice means that we can sort out problems quicker, and like the teachers don't have to hold up the class during lessons, and there's less arguments in the yard.
We can sort out problems fairly and help other children if they have any problems.
Did you all enjoy that?
In Gendros Primary School, pupils have also been trained in RP, which has had a significant effect on school life.
So you're here today because the incident that happened a few days ago, and we're going to solve it by doing our statistic. So Adam, what happened?
Well, me and a couple of my friends were playing this game.
We started very simple level, that we put the posters up around school to get the children used to the questions. It's continuously reminding the children of the restorative approach that we have in school. The mentors are using it in the yard, and they're dealing with the majority of the incidents. And if something has happened that they're unhappy with within the classroom, they'll come to find me to ask to do a circle. And they're seeing this now as if something's upsetting them. This is the way to resolve the issues.
Adam, what do you think needs to happen next?
The children had a full day's training in school, so a whole day was allocated to it. They've responded really well. They've taken their roles really seriously. There's one boy particularly who would be the one who was always in trouble. He was always coming into the office. Now he's got the purpose in the yard. He's an RP mentor. He's happier. He's now the one dealing with the issues rather than causing them. He's now been given a status, he's been given a reason to be in the yard, he's been given a responsibility, whereas before he'd be shouted at or told he couldn't do this or he couldn't do that. Now it's like, oh, can you come and help us with this?
OK, morning everyone. Brida. I hope you all had a fantastic half-term. I did. I spent 3 days with my extended family, 21 of us, in a farmhouse in Shrewsbury, which is absolutely fantastic.
It's not just the pupils who benefit from restorative practice. Check-ins and check-outs are used in Swansea schools to help teachers share information and feelings in the morning too. Terrace Road Primary School checks in every Monday and then checks out at the end of the week on a Friday.
We've been doing restorative practice as a school for the last year and a half. Part of that is to do a pupil check-in, but I also feel it's important to do a staff check-in with my staff every Monday morning at about 8:30, 25 to 9, all the staff that are in school get together in the staff room, and we just run through, have like a little circle where we might discuss our weekends, what's been good about our weekends, perhaps what's been not so good about our weekends, and sometimes things like what we're hoping for that term. So it's great for us to get together as a whole staff and share issues, emotions, feelings, and generally it's a way of just making sure that everybody feels important. And as a head teacher, it allows me to know my staff better.
I had a bit of a surprise before the half term. My twin brother had a heart attack, so that was really difficult dealing with that. But thankfully, it's useful now to be able to check in and tell people that. That's really helpful for me personally. Sports Day, it brings the whole of the staff together and it allows us to offload, to share a story or anecdote, for the most part about our weekends or about the previous week in school that we just haven't had the opportunity to touch base with colleagues about. If I sort of have perhaps said something that I just want people to be aware of, then I'm grateful that during the day, during the week, that sort of environment of trust has been created that allows people just to come and check up on me to ensure that everything's all right.
It's often easy to view restorative practice as a tool for schools to combat bad behaviour, but in reality it's so much more. Ysgol Gyfun Gymraeg Bryntawe knows this only too well.
Before we took on RP as a whole school strategy, Bryntawe was a positive place to be. The ethos was positive. We didn't have major behaviour issues. It wasn't a case of bringing RP in to solve any major behaviour problems that we had in school. However, What it has done is given it an identity that we can always refer back to. And that is certainly helping us to achieve a greater consistency across the whole staff. And I think that is the challenge for any school, be it junior or secondary school. That is the challenge in order to get restorative practices embedded, is that there is a consistent approach across the whole school staff.
At Bryn Tawe, consistency is king. RP is the framework which binds teaching, learning, discipline strategies and relationship building.
Everybody has to understand what the strategies are and how to use them. I think that is the starting point. Once you've done that, I think it's important that the school acts upon embedding it as quickly as possible. And what we did, and I think was worked very well for us, is that we embedded it into our discipline policy. It became very much a part of it, where we challenge members of staff to use effective language on a daily basis. 10 statements a day was our challenge here at Bryn Tawe.
Mae sbarad yn fyna, y geiriau yna I ddisgrifio sut ych chi'n teimlo.
I think what's vital is that the staff buy into it, and we are very fortunate with the staff we've got here at Bryn Tawe that they're all proactively seeking to better themselves and looking to improve teaching learning within the classroom. And RP, for us, is very much a big part of teaching learning, not just about behaviour management, it's about promoting a healthy, positive relationships within classrooms so that learning can take place.
Pam chi heb fi'n hapus?
Bryn Tawe also benefits from having support from the head teacher and senior management team. This is a big factor in the successful embedding of RP in any organisation. Swansea is fortunate that it has support from the very top. It's championed by Chief Executive Jack Straw.
I first got interested properly in restorative practice when visiting schools who'd adopted it, where I was able to see the impact on behaviour, attendance and attainment. And since that time, I've become a convert for it, and we've made it integral to the Poverty Forum work that I lead. Obviously, restorative practice has potential for use in all areas of human existence and work, but it does need the positive leadership that some of our heads have given, and we'll be looking to get that extended across the council as we move forward.
As well as using RP in their work with parents, Swansea's family team also uses RP to work together as a group.
We're a very positive team, and we're very good, I think, at celebrating success. So within our team meetings, planning sessions, every opportunity really where we can get together as a team, we use circle time just to kind of check in, see if we're okay. And what we tend to use very often is something that has gone particularly well for us as an individual professional, individual worker. It could be celebrating everybody's, success of something that's worked well, perhaps with a family that we've been working with on a one-to-one basis, or something that's happened in group that has been particularly good.
So what have I found challenging this week? I think...
We're also encouraged then to think about something that perhaps has challenged us over the last couple of weeks since the last team meeting, and as a team kind of troubleshoot and problem solve those challenges really. So how we would deal with them and how it's made us feel, perhaps how we would move on from those challenges.
But what about the proof that RP makes a difference? It's often difficult to quantify how a boost to welfare improves life. But for those who have RP fully embedded, the benefits are clear. Town Hill Community School was again in the first phase of schools to be trained in Swansea. When headmaster Chris Tompkin arrived in 2012, he was surprised by the positive nature of the school.
I knew that Town Hill was a challenging area, so I was expecting quite a high level of challenging behaviour. When I actually came here, that isn't what I found at all. I found children who were empowered to an extent to deal with emotions. Quite a calm school. In the circles in the morning, the children come in, they park up their feelings that they bring from home. And in the circles at the end of the day, they park up their feelings that they've developed during the day. That being the case, they're sympathetic to each other. They have an empathy with each other's feelings. I've sat in circles where the children have listened to every single word, to every child around a circle. It's developed their listening skills. It's definitely had a very, very positive effect on the school.
Moreover, the school has seen an increase in standards, as shown by recent Estin inspections, and attendance has also improved.
Now, I do feel that the restorative ethos has provided a really good foundation for learning, along with the excellent teaching and the work of the teachers, of course. And the children are, are more eager to learn, ready to learn than they would have been without it.
But perhaps the most significant effect of RP in Townhill Community School is shown by the effect on some of the pupils. This little girl wanted her story to be told, but preferred not to be named. Her aunt, Alison, tells us how her life has changed since the school brought in restorative practice.
She came to stay with me 3 years ago. She had quite a troubled background. She has a younger brother who's disabled. Her mother had massive issues and problems with alcohol, and then sadly her dad took his own life. At the time she was very troubled, very withdrawn. Before the restorative practice came in within the school, she'd be borderline bullying rather than expressing herself. She'd express herself with actions rather than words. The support she received from the school and the restorative practice made her a different person, made her become a little girl again.
Restorative practice is making a real difference in Swansea, and it's gaining momentum. It's working particularly well in the city's specialist teaching facilities, and there are plans to include RP in the university's teacher training courses. Beyond this, it's the city's aim to have restorative practice shown in job descriptions for any work involving children and young people. And as RP embeds in more and more organisations, Swansea is finding its way towards becoming a truly restorative city.